Welcome to the 2020 Share to Buy event. I'm Courtney Stone, one of the staff lawyers in the Residential Property Department at Humphreys & Co Solicitors. So today I'm going to give you a short presentation to give you an insight as to what is involved in a purchase conveyancing transaction and what the role of a solicitor is in the process of buying that property. So first of all, we'll explain what parties are involved in the purchase transaction. So for shared ownership, it really does depend whether you're buying a new build property or a resale property. If you're buying a new build property, the seller will be the housing association and they will instruct their own solicitors. If you're going to buy a resale property, you'll have a seller who may have advertised the property through an estate agent. The seller will instruct their own solicitors, but will also be speaking with the housing association and the housing association solicitors. So if you're using a mortgage to buy the property, you might have got that mortgage through a mortgage broker. So we'll all be liaising with each other about the transaction to try and push the transaction through to exchange and completion. So lots of first-time buyers wonder what it is a solicitor actually does. So first of all, we receive the contract paperwork from the seller solicitors. As I mentioned before, this may be the seller solicitors or the housing association solicitors, depending on whether you're buying a resale or a new build property. So the contract paperwork, if it's a resale, will include lots of protocol forms completed by the seller. This will give information that the seller has given about the property. It will include the legal title, which is registered at the land registry. So this will be the freehold title and the leasehold title and a copy of the lease itself. The housing association will supply a management pack. The management pack includes details of rent, service charge, buildings insurance, and just generally the setup of the management of the property. The paperwork will also include an EPC, which is an energy performance certificate. And the paperwork should also give any details of guarantees and warranties to the property. So this is any new build warranties, if the property is maybe built within the last 10 years, or any guarantees or warranties relating to the appliances of the property. So we'll look through the paperwork carefully that's given by the seller solicitors just to make sure that it's all together, it's all up to date, and that it's going to be acceptable to you and your lender. It's likely we'll raise inquiries on the paperwork provided just to make sure that we get a well-rounded picture of the property and ask for any documents that are missing. So as your solicitors, we will also order searches on your behalf. These searches will include a local authority search, which gives details of planning permission and building regulations. It will also include a drainage and water search, which gives details of the providers to the property. It will include an environmental search, which gives details on flooding, listed buildings, any land contamination and coal mining. And we'll also carry out a chancel repair insurance liability search. My colleague Bonnie Moe has given a presentation specifically on searches. So we would advise you to watch that presentation for a little bit more information on searches. So it's likely that you'll be purchasing the property with an aid of a mortgage. If this is the case, then we'll be acting for your lender too. So we need to make sure that the property has a good and marketable title so that you and your lender have a safe investment and that you have no problems when you come to decide to sell the property. So we're on the recommended panel for many lenders, and we act for a wide range of lenders. So during the transaction, we'll receive a copy of your mortgage offer direct from your lender. We'll obviously check the details of the mortgage offer to make sure the property address is correct, the price you're purchasing the property for is correct, your name is correct, and if there are any conditions in that mortgage offer that need to be satisfied. So during the transaction, we may need to report some matters to your lender as well. These can include escalating ground rents, which is quite a hot topic at the moment with lenders, and maybe any possible cladding issues in light of the Grenfell Tower incident. Your lender will also need to be made aware of any occupiers that are going to live at the property with you on following completion. They also need to be aware of any gifted deposits or incentives being offered to you. So you'll need to tell your mortgage broker about this when you're applying for the application, but there may be conditions in your mortgage offer as well that we as solicitors need to satisfy. So under the terms of the lease, the mortgage offer needs to be approved by the housing association as well. So we will send a copy to the housing association solicitors and make sure that this is approved during the transaction. So once we've received satisfactory replies to our inquiries on the contract paperwork, we've received all of our searches and we've got your mortgage offer in, we'll be ready to send you our report on title, which is a pretty hefty report on title, giving lots of details about the property. So at any time during the transaction, you don't need to visit us in person, and we'll correspond with you over email and telephone, and our report on title will be sent to you by Royal Mail special delivery. So the report should satisfy any questions you have about the property and your obligations as a property owner. The report will give full details of the land registry title, so like I said earlier, the leasehold and the freehold title to the property. It will also go through the terms of release to include the do's and the don'ts, your rights under the lease, your restrictions under the lease, and it will also talk about the rent and service charge payments and just generally the setup of the management and sort of the organisation of the title to the property. So the report on title will also include the documents that you need to sign. So these again will depend whether you're buying a new build or resale property. So if you're buying a new build property, you'll be signing a contract and a new lease. If it's a resale property, you'll be signing a transfer and a contract. The report will also include the mortgage deed and other documents that we'll need to sign. You'll need to sign for us, such as, you know, a co-ownership form if you're buying with more than one person, a mortgage checklist, and a stamp duty form. So once you've read the report and you're happy with all the information in the report, you've returned the signed documents to us and the deposit money to us, we can then look to exchange contracts, which is the exciting bit. So when contracts are exchanged and a completion date is set in stone and there's no going back, you have a legally binding contract. So between exchange and completion, we'll prepare our provisional invoice and completion statement, which shows the balance that you need to pay to us before completion, which will include things like our legal fees, stamp duty or not if you're lucky, and rent and service charge payments in advance. So if you're wondering when you need to make payments for the deposit and our fees, it's not until quite a bit into the transaction. So on the day of completion, we'll receive your mortgage advance and send this together with your deposit to the seller's solicitors. So as soon as they've received that money, then completion will take place and we'll deliver the good news to you that you can collect your keys. So we're here to give you advice and just to make sure that both you and your lender have a secure investment. So from completion, for you, the process is over and you can enjoy your new home. But for us, the work goes on. So behind the scenes after completion, we will pay any stamp duty due. Even if there's not any stamp duty payable, we still have to make a return to HMRC. We will let the housing association know that you're the new owner, and importantly, we will register you as the owner at the land registry. So what can you do to prepare? So the Share to Buy website is a great place to start, and you should speak to a financial advisor to see how much you're able to borrow in the first instance. Once you've found a property and you've been allocated the property, and once you've spoken to a mortgage broker and you've got a decision in principle, that's when you come and instruct a solicitor. So what we will need from you are three things. First of all, we will need a client information form, which gives us details about you, details of the transaction, and the client information form will be sent with our terms of engagement. So it's just confirming that you've read the terms of engagement and you're happy to go ahead with us. We'll need a initial payment from you on account. This is to cover things like the cost of the searches and any land registry searches. And finally, we will need certified ID documentation. So this is a passport or a driving license or a photo ID. And we'll also need a proof of address, like a utility bill or a bank statement. So my colleague Natasha Hearn has prepared a presentation on quotes and what is needed from you to instruct us as your solicitors. So if you have a look through that presentation that she's given, you'll get more information on what we need from you. So I hope you found this presentation useful, and I wish you well in finding a property. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us by email or by phone, and we'd be happy to help. Thank you.